What is up, fellas? The pigs are back for another episode of the Blind Pig Podcast, courtesy of bgobsession.com. It's been a little while, so if you haven't been here before, we appreciate you. Welcome aboard. You know the deal. You've watched enough podcasts. Everybody asks for the same thing. If you have been here before, you know the drill. Blind Pig Podcast is a group of fans sitting around a barroom table talking football, so we will just do that. Primarily the Washington Commanders. A couple things, guys. Nothing major going on. We're kind of in the doldrums of the summer, the downtime of the
5 days and some change away from minicamp, so that's kind of exciting.
Yep, OTAs are going. A couple things going on with OTAs that we can talk about. But the first thing I guess we can talk about is we will come back to our mothership, bgobsession.com. If you have not been over there, please come by and check it out. Right now, and this is how you know it's the off season, one of the most popular threads on our board is whether or not you like the new logo. So I figure we can dive right into that. The W, hot or not, the poll out there currently has, 33 votes. 9 people say yes, it's simple, iconic, leave it alone. 9 more say no, it's unimaginative, it sucks. 6 say that they like it, but let's add a feather as a nod to our past. Or 9 say they like the W, but it needs enhancement.
Yeah, so I think what I took away from that is that people just don't want it. Don't, at least on our website, they don't want any more change. I mean, there are people that might want some tweaks to the uniforms and stuff, but I think we're all afraid of a really goofy new logo that if they try to come up with something that's Commanders related, since none of us really know what the hell that name means in terms of like a logo that would represent it. And I think one of the things the one thing that we all agreed on as we went through all of the challenges and the irritation with the branding and everything is that the one thing we can all agree on is that we root for the Washington, NFL franchise, and it's all about the DMV and the fan base there and the history there and, returning to RFK, all of that kind of stuff. It's all wrapped up in Washington. So I just think I'm kind of the mindset. I'm definitely like, just leave it, man. It's good. It's if you're going to pick a logo, a letter as your team logo, I mean, how exciting can you make it? I think it's kind of grown on me. I like the block kind of stencil look. And, but anyway, probably about 3/4 of the people that voted in that poll either wanted it to stay the same or they wanted to keep the W with some enhancements or a feather or something. But not a lot of support for like coming up with some new logo, completely different logo. So I thought that was interesting.
Well, and let's be honest. I mean, I think we can all be honest with each other here. How many of those people that want it changed are the 2 people that are just not willing to let go of the old logo? Right. Believe me, I love the old logo. I think at the end of the day, the old logo is going to be reinstated on some level. It already has been. It's not going to be our full-time logo ever again because that logo does not fit with the team. They're building a brand here. Josh Harris and Adam Peters and Dan Quinn and everybody are building that brand. It's what they're going forward with. They're they're pushing to completely get people to buy into what we do around here. So we're not going backwards. They're looking forward. So I voted personally. I like the W, but maybe some enhancements. I like the idea of a burgundy W with the gold outline, similar to what if you're watching on the podcast, Tony's hat, and also that's on the background. I prefer that more than the block W. That's the yellow, orangey, gold one that we have on our helmets currently. I think that burgundy W on our helmet would look pretty cool, especially if it was a gloss look on the matte helmet. Most logos are glossy, including our current one, if you actually look at a helmet. So I think there's other ways they could change it up. I think that that logo would look really cool on a black helmet, on our black alternate, and some other variations of it. So I like the W. It's growing on me. I do think it can evolve into something better.
I think it's interesting that in the midst of every time anything branding related comes up, well, 2 things happen. The first thing is that a bunch of people say, do we really have to keep talking about this? And yet it immediately becomes the most popular, most participated conversation, including, let's say, they don't want to talk about it anymore. But I think that's
they always ask you, do we have to keep talking about it? But they have no problem voicing their opinion on the matter either.
And it always becomes about the name change. Like I started that thread, and all I wanted to talk about was, do you like the W? That was all I wanted to talk about. But there's just you just can't control it. It's like the minute you say anything branding related, it's like boom, let's talk about the name change. It's like
it goes all over the place.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I'm similar. I'm fine with the W. It's a clean, basic look. And then if you look across the NFL, that's the same. It's a similar vibe. Everything's just, for the most part, it's just clean and basic. Even look at the Nats. It's a curly W. It is what it is. It's a pro sports logo. It's fine. And it's clean.
I think too, Tony, there's a lot of people, I think they'd be smart to stick with the W because there's still a pretty large, I don't care what JP Finley, who I like JP Finley fine, but I don't think he's particularly in touch with the fan base. And, he posted something on Twitter that got a lot of pushback. And I think he just kind of shortchanges fans in some ways that, look, fans are sophisticated. They have a lot of different reasons for what they want and what they believe. But I think where I'm going with that is I think there's a lot of fans who will buy swag with the W on it that would never buy swag with Commanders on it, at least right now, because there's still a lot of fans that are like, I hate that name. I don't like it. It's not the team I want. But the W they can live with because it's Washington, and that's the best we're going to do for now. And that'll probably change over time as, the geezers die off and all these young Jayden Daniels fans, kind of take over the fan base, which is going to happen. It's already happening. But I think right now that's a smart way to go. Keep that W logo and offer swag that doesn't have Commanders slapped all over it. And that way we can have the best of both worlds. The young people can buy the Commanders swag, and the old geezers like me and Mark and some of the other guys, we can buy the W logo stuff, and everyone's happy as we're going to be, right?
Well, it is kind of funny too that now that I'm thinking about, I'm looking at it. The helmet, obviously, I got it here, has the gold W. It's the all orangey gold W, right, with my visor. But if you actually look at all of the actual stuff, it's the burgundy W with the gold outline.
Yeah.
I mean, even if you look at like OTAs and stuff, they have the W. It's the gold W with a burgundy outline. So I'm wondering if more and more of that happens, where that evolves, where it's like that even the helmet logo starts to shift a little bit as things develop with the brand and as things go on. Because a lot of people. One thing is the Baltimore Ravens, when they moved to Baltimore.
Yeah, I say that.
Their initial logo was a completely different depiction of a raven. It wasn't even a raven, if I remember correctly. It was a crest, right?
Yeah,
that had a bee in it, if I'm remembering correctly. It was like a shield that had like a bee in it or something. And I think it was
you can look at their logo progress over time, or the
right.
They did that. The Panthers do it. Like all the newer.
So you guys know, I don't want to get into the name thing. I just want to say this. You guys know that I was like one of the most loudly protesting people on our site that just hated Commanders and how stupid it was. And I just had a really hard time with it. But I'm just so over. I'm like, it's done. Let's move forward. We got so many exciting things to talk about and focus on. So.
Right, because the on-field product is actually at a level now that it should be dominating the conversation.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, so if you're out there and you're still like angst-ridden and angry, it's like, if I can get over it, you can.
Well, and equally, I'll say, if you listen to that, it's a shared frustration, but it's also an understanding of what we can and can't control. Right, I think we all said Commanders wasn't our first pick, right? Like nobody would have said Commanders was their first pick, but guess what? It's the logo, it's the team now. They're moving forward with it. if it's to the point where you can't root for the Commanders, then don't root for the Commanders. Like, and I don't mean to say that as an ultimatum. I just mean if it's that passionate about you, I'm sorry, it's not changing.
Like, one final comment, and then let's move on to some football. But I did one other kind of theme from that thread and that poll discussion was people really like the raise hail. That
hashtag
thing. So maybe that's something they can, and that's the kind of thing where that does. I'm not a big believer in like slap up a feather on it, or somebody said put a little R on it. So that everyone we know we were the Redskins. We don't need an R on the W to remind us of that, or a feather for that matter. But I think the raise hail, I think that's kind of a clever way to a turn of a phrase, and we all know what where hail comes from. So anyway,
yeah.
So the schedule came out, man. Since the last one
come out. So John, there's another thread that you've posted on the board within the last 10 days, more regarding schedule. What's going on week 3?
Oh yeah, we're gonna have our official tailgate. We do one big tailgate every year. We try to. So that's gonna be against the Raiders. I think that's a 1 p.m. Sunday game in week 3, and we're gonna do our official BGO tailgate. And we're going to be in the, help me out here, I think it's the Gold A lot is where
Gold is what you posted, yeah.
And if anyone, we'll remind people as we get closer to it, but if anyone's inclined to come hang out with us, we've made some really good friends just doing tailgates. We met the Burgundy and Gold Knuckleheads, who have a great podcast of their own. We met them they wandered up at one of our tailgates, but we'll have the BGO flags. You can see in the background, we'll have them flying, so people will be able to find us if they know about BGO or they listen to the podcast. But hopefully, we get a good turnout. We had a really great time the last time.
So, I'm curious, John. You did bring it up. What do you think of the schedule?
Oh well, here's the thing. I think it's always really hard to look at a schedule and then predict like how they're going to go. You just never know. There's so many factors involved, including the fact that a team that was really good last season isn't necessarily going to be really good this year. It's just every year you see teams that fall off the map, and then you see teams that no one saw coming. Like a couple years ago, it was Houston. I don't know who we would say it was last season.
Maybe us?
Yeah, probably us.
Well, yeah. But I did, even though I said it's really stupid to try to look at the schedule and without any context and figure out how many games we might win, but kind of my drive-by take is, I still think we can sweep the Giants in the NFC East. That we can sweep the Giants, and I think we can split with Dallas and Philly. So that's kind of my hope. Is that's the worst case scenario. And then I just tried to pick out like what games make me nervous, and some of them are logical and some of them are just a feeling. But I looked at the ones that I thought would be the toughest non-NFC East matchups. We play the Chargers in week 5, and mainly I put that down as a risky game just because it's on the road and they have a really good quarterback. So anytime you're on the road with a really good quarterback, you worry. That's in week 5. I put Chicago, which we play again at home, in week 6. I've marked that as a scary game only because that was a brutal loss. So if there's one game that Chicago wants to win in 2025, it's that game.
It's the annual Commanders Bears primetime game. It seems like we've done this 4 out of the last 5 years.
Yeah, Monday Night Football in week 6. Obviously at KC scary. We're home against Detroit in week 10. That'll be
you think Chicago's going to be coming in pissed off?
Detroit's going to be. Damn.
Yeah, that just dawned on me. I'm like, oh yeah, they might have a little bone to pick.
Dan Campbell, are you kidding me? Dan Campbell's going to have that headline.
Oh yeah,
posted all over the locker room.
You're right about that. And then the last 2, Madrid against Miami, because I think Miami can always be a tricky opponent. And then I put Minnesota in week 14. I don't know why. Just because I think Minnesota tends to play us. We don't play them very often, but they tend to play us tough. So I don't know. I could see us. I think if we were able to do what I'm hoping we can do, which is sweep the Giants, split with Dallas and Philadelphia, I could see us getting to like 10 or 11 wins without a whole lot of trouble. But you never know. I mean, what do you guys think?
Yeah, one thing that stood out to me was we got to get used to it is the amount of primetime games and like the
standalone
the only game on. Yeah. Just because of Jayden and how good we've been playing. So we just got to get used to it. But it feels like there's so many.
Week 2 at Green Bay, Thursday night football. Week 5 at the Chargers, 4:25 p.m. game on Fox. That's going to be America's game of the week. Week 6, Chicago, 8:15. That's Monday night. Week 7, Dallas, 4:25 p.m. again on Fox. That's America's game of the week. Week 8 at Kansas City, Monday night football. Week 9 versus hosting Seattle. That's Sunday night football. Week 10 versus Detroit, again, 4:25 on Fox. That's America's game of the week. Week 11 at Miami, 9:30 a.m. because it's in Madrid. Week 13, November 30th. That's Sunday night football. We're hosting Denver. And there's 2 TBD games, Week 16 against the Eagles and Week 18 against the Eagles, both of which have not been determined. But I think they're already alluding to those being primetime games. And then finally, Week 17, hosting Dallas on Christmas Day on Netflix.
Yeah.
All of those games are either primetime or premium games in the week.
So a couple of seasons ago, we had, I want to say, like all of the NFC East matchups were like the last 6 weeks or something. This year we closed with 4 straight NFC East games. And the last one, well, it's tough because we play Philly twice in the final 3 games, and we have to play Dallas at home in our stadium, but on 5 days rest on Christmas Day. So that's kind of a tough thing. Turn around 5 days later.
Yeah.
You got to play Dallas. So anyway, you just never know.
And we open against the Giants, which, look, I mean, I'm never going to take the Giants. I think we can sweep them. I think we're the better team twice all season. But
right, we know that it doesn't mean it's going to happen.
The Giants, you know what I mean? Like, and then, the last 4 games, we play the 14th, then we play the 20th, the 25th, and then the week after. So you're talking that 3-game span. That's 3 games in 11 days. And then that doesn't even mean that we could be playing at Philly. That'll probably be at like a Saturday game, which would be then 9 days because Thanksgiving's on a Thursday, right? Or Christmas or Thursday, I mean, if I'm remembering correctly or whatever. So
one thing that makes me feel, I really like this, and I don't know if you guys caught this. I've been kind of checked out. So if I say anything exceptionally stupid versus just my regular stupid tonight, it's just because we run a really busy football board, and we podcast, and we're in it during the season. So I just needed a break, and I think you guys are probably kind of
I think we all did.
But I heard Jayden talking about that he wasn't going to have a sophomore slump. So I just love the fact that he's thinking that way. That like it's kind of I don't know how real it is, but it's definitely a thing in the NFL, right? That rookie quarterbacks will come in and light it up for a season and then all of a sudden start struggling some. So I just love that he's like already thinking that I'm not going to let that happen. I'm going to get better my second year. And I know we're going to talk about his physique in a little bit, about packing on some muscle, but I just love what I'm hearing from him in terms of his attitude, and gives me a lot of, I don't know if it's false optimism, but it gives me a lot of optimism about 2025.
And to that point, I hope fans realize this is a different, I don't know that, I think he could have a regression and it not be a sophomore slump, because ultimately I think we are playing largely better teams this year than we did last year, largely better defenses, largely better offenses on the other side of the ball. I mean, let's be honest. We won
a lot of games by the skin of our teeth last year.
Right. Yeah. I mean, if you think we're going to beat Kansas City, you think Pat Mahomes is going to lose like the Falcons did last year on a missed 2-point conversion. Like, there's multiple things. I mean, Chicago's looks better. The Chargers look better. Atlanta, hell, even Atlanta might even look a little better now that Michael Penix is going to be in his second season.
Yeah.
Denver looks stronger. Obviously, you got Philly. Detroit's gonna be pissed off at all. We're at us. Seattle looks like they might actually. They got the guy that we wanted, right? Ben McDonald. So
They can
I
have the
think
guy we
there's
thought we wanted.
we thought we wanted.
Yeah.
But Green Bay is going to be a playoff team. So looking at just between Green Bay, Detroit, and Minnesota, if I'm not mistaken, they won like a combined 40 games last year, right? Like, so, or there's going to be a lot there that we're going to be playing better teams, and I think Jayden Daniels might fall a little short of his rookie season, but still have a really damn good season and not be a sophomore slump. And the team could not win 12 games, and I don't think it's necessarily an indictment of some sort of a step backwards as much as it is just we played better teams, and that's just the way that the schedule laid out.
Yeah, I agree. Like, you can still have a good season, a good playoff season, but not hit the exact win total of last year. And, the team's still doing good, and it's still a good year, like you said. Or maybe even like the running game is better this year, so Jayden's numbers aren't as crazy. There's so many factors that you just.
I really feel like the only thing that could happen where I would feel like it was a failed season would be if we didn't make the playoffs, because I feel like we have enough talent and a really great coaching staff and a really exciting quarterback, and I think we should be a playoff team. So that would be the only thing I would say is if we don't make the playoffs, unless it's some, I don't know, you can not make the playoffs and win 10 games in some seasons, but that's kind of the bar for me is we got to make. I don't care what happens once we get to the playoffs in year 2 of a rebuild, but I really hope we make the playoffs and continue to have that momentum that we built last season.
Mm-hmm.
So, I guess we can use that as a transition. You mentioned it. Jayden Daniels did look like he bulked up a bit. I know that Nicki Jhabvala and somebody else was reporting that he didn't look bulky, but it definitely looks like he's been hit. He's got that NFL weight room time now. We kind of talked about it a little bit on the board, and I kind of cracked the joke, and it's kind of true though. Is there's a lot more time in the day to be working out and building your brand when you don't have that pesky thing called college to think about. So, when your full-time job is to be an NFL quarterback, it changes the way that you can treat your body.
I read that Bobby Wagner gave him a lot of advice on like how to train in the off season, and like that there was a lot of conversations. And I mean, what better guy to talk about how can you take care of your body and have a long NFL career.
Exactly.
Than a guy like Bobby Wagner.
Yeah, then Bobby Wagner's played forever.
I saw somebody say, last season, Washington claimed that Jayden was 6'4", 210. And this year he might actually be 6'4",
210.
So, I also think, I don't know if you guys experienced this, but I did because I joined the Marine Corps in my early 20s. And when I got to like that age 24 to 25, I don't know whether it's because your metabolism slows down a little bit or if it's just a hormonal thing, but I started bulking up more when I hit like my mid 20s. So I know a lot of people are like, oh yeah, Jayden did some magical workout so he can get stronger, so he didn't get hurt and protect himself a little bit more. And there might be some of that because I'm sure he paid attention to the hits he took in 2024. Mm-hmm. But I think part of it might just be, he's a kid that's becoming a young man and and beyond that. And I think part of that is just he's growing up, and I know he's not a kid, but early 20s and late 20s that your body changes some. So, but I'm glad to see it. I don't think I have no concern that it's going to like slow him down. I've seen people talking about, oh, he's going to be a step slower or whatever. No, he's not. I mean, he's cut. That guy.
No. Yeah, he's an elite athlete. He put on some muscle, but it's nothing crazy. And then even then, if the body type, everyone's different. You just got to go by the individual athlete. Because if you look at the Colts quarterback, I think Richardson, that guy's jacked. He's huge, but he's always injured. So like you can't just you just can't just go by size.
Yeah, I imagine. Don't you guys think the strength and conditioning coaches? Sorry, I said strength and conditioning. Don't you think? Don't you think that they probably set that as a goal for him? Look, I want you to pack on 10 pounds, and I want it to be muscle. And I'm guessing they might have done that, but I don't know.
Absolutely.
Sure.
Somebody, and now I'm trying to. I think it might have even been Nicki Jhabvala. Also, even said that like it almost looks like the arm got stronger. Like the bulk is not affecting it. Like he's almost looks like he's got more behind it, which would make sense if you've been working out. If you've got even more strength behind it, so I agree. I don't think there's anything to be concerned about. I think it is something that we see a lot where a guy has now completed their first season. Now they've understand what it takes to be an NFL quarter, or they're starting to understand what it takes to be an NFL quarterback. They're now working for over 18 months with the strength, like you said, the strength coaches, the dietitians, the coordinators, and everybody that has a vision. They have a plan. I mean, if you're going to invest that kind of stuff, they already know. They're going through in watching Jayden and figuring out, okay, well, then we need to start working here a little bit more. We need to, just like the playbooks, the body's no different. I think somebody said, was it Derrick Henry that spends like $400,000 a year on his body? If you talk about trainers and food and supplements and, you know, all of these things that he does, I mean, there's a reason the good ones are good, and it's because they pay attention to that stuff and they understand the importance of it.
Do you guys remember what Lamar Jackson looked like his rookie year?
Oh, beanpole, right?
Oh, yeah.
So that's when people say they're worried that he's going to lose a step or he's going to lose what makes him special. It's like, well, it didn't seem to hurt Lamar Jackson.
No, he ain't. No.
Exactly.
He's done okay. Boosting up a little bit. So it's kind of a non-story, I think. And by the way, Nicki Jhabvala, man, she is really great. You guys, I just think.
Yeah, I like her.
We take her for granted, but I just think she's a really great beat reporter. I pretty much love everything she puts out.
Mm-hmm. And yeah, she's usually one of the top ones that's on top of things. Like I follow her on X, and usually if I see a tweet from her or something, I stop and you pay attention. Versus there's some other things that I'll scroll through and it's just like whatever, you know what I mean? But she's pretty good.
Yeah, she's also one of those that doesn't try to make herself the story or like
it's not never
seeker like some of these other guys we have.
Mm-hmm.
So I guess one other thing I'd like to touch on as we get into this, something I don't see a lot of people talking about. I see a lot of people critical of our position group at defensive end or edge, but I don't see a lot of people actually taking a look at what additions were made and truly thinking about the scope of things. Before we started recording, I ran down it real quick, and we have like 18 defensive linemen on the roster between edged interior and outside edged rushers. So it's like I'm looking and I'm wondering if they even think they need to do anything. Like, you know, I don't think the big move is coming. I don't think the Trey Hendrickson's coming. I don't even think Devon Miller's coming, if I'm being honest with you. I think they have a type that they want, and they've been building this roster. They've been building this game plan. They were already working. I guarantee you the playbook's already it's almost written. You know what I mean? They're not pushing this to the end of the year. There's probably a lot of the same concepts, but they're probably tweaking things based on our current roster. So I guess we could see somebody like a Jadeveon Clowney or something like that as we approach camp. But I'm not sold that they're panicking the same way the fans are, that edge is as big as a need, because they're looking at things like if we look at who we added, Javon Kinlaw on the interior, 6'5", 319. Eddie Goldman on the interior, 6'3", 332. Jacob Martin, who's an edge player / linebacker, at 6'2", 242. Dietrich Wise, who's an edge guy at 6'5". I'm wondering if they're not looking at the Philadelphia Eagles template and saying we're going to pressure from the inside out, not from the outside in, and adding guys like that. And Dan Quinn has been raving about Deron Payne at camp, saying he's bigger, he's faster, he's stronger. You know what I mean? Like talking about how impressed he is with his offseason. So I'm looking at it like I wouldn't be surprised if the top guy on our defense has 9 sacks, but we've got 3 interior D linemen that have 6, which is unheard of. You know what I mean? Like, so if they're making it up that way, and then with some exotic blitzes and stuff.
Yeah, I could totally see that. And then also the moves they made also tells me they really want to help in the run game, because in the run game we were getting gashed all the time.
Yep.
Especially down the stretch. When you add guys like Goldman and Wise, that's telling me, hey, we need to really step up our run defense. So I think that was a big need that they were looking after. And then, like you said, Derek, I think you'll see more blitzes and things like that. I think you might see Louvu unleash more. And if they could play Mikey in the slot more, you can see more corner blitzes from him and stuff. So, I think they'll manufacture the pass rush, if not from the inside out. But a lot of the moves they made was trying to help the run defense, I think.
Yeah, so I was just getting ready to say that I think that's where we really got gashed last year. And the other thing I'll add to that is, as fans, we always want to look at the position group like in isolation and just look at the bodies that we have on the roster. And the coaches don't view it the same way. I don't think. I think they look at it as, look, man, we may have really upgraded our defensive backfield with the moves that we made with drafting Amos and maybe moving Sam Ristel maybe back to the slot position. That's probably his more natural position. And I think they're looking at that saying, you know what, if you really upgrade your defensive backfield, you're going to have more time to get to the quarterback. You might not need to go out and get some give up more draft picks to bring in whoever the flavor of the year is in terms of a top pass rusher. So I think we look at it in terms of the scheme and where they've gotten better, at least on paper. So they don't seem that particularly worried about it. And no. I do think they're not going to be inclined, like on Henriksen. They're not going to want to give up more draft capital because we've already done a lot of that, and I think we want to have some draft picks next year to play with.
Yeah, and I think schematically, so we all came into this offseason with ideas and opinions on what we thought the most important things were, and it looks like they agreed, right? We said left tackle. I mean, you like Brandon Coleman. He's quality, but they obviously thought so much of that we need to protect Jayden. You bring in Tunsil, Brandon Coleman, and then you draft Connerly, right? So now I saw at the OTAs he was working out at right tackle. So maybe he's not shifting to guard. And then you shift Coleman into guard. Now you've updated in one offseason, you've updated three starting positions, right? Like, and then we thought that they needed corner help. They traded for Lattimore, and then they drafted a very high Amos. Then on top of that, they brought in the kid from New England, Jeremy Jones. What's his name?
Yeah.
Am I right?
Yeah, Jones. I think it's Jones. Yeah.
Hold on. I'm looking at a roster right now. Jonathan Jones. Sorry. Jonathan Jones. And you got Sanders still. So now very quickly, you've got quality depth and you've got people now 4 guys theoretically that can be on the field at any time and you're pretty comfortable with them, depending on what Amos does. I think Lattimore is going to have a bounce back season. John, you and I we've talked about that on the board multiple times that don't count this guy out. There was a lot going on. We've even talked about it on the podcast. He was coming off an injury, new to a system. There's a lot of things that happened. And despite some glaring, ugly plays in the last half of last season, there were also plays that he flashed and you looked at that a lot of people don't acknowledge.
Yeah. So I think the other thing, Derek, the other priority that I felt like we maybe not so much in the draft, although we did bring in the Virginia Tech receiver, but we added Samuel, Samuel. So now we've got a legit some people will argue he's not as scary as he used to be. I'm sorry. Deebo Samuel's still a pretty scary guy to cover. And
right.
We've at least added a guy, that's a legit NFL player and contributor opposite Terry or in the mix with Terry so that, teams aren't going to be able to double and triple team Terry McLaurin on every single down now.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So when I look at things like that, they obviously they have no problem addressing needs, right? Like something that we all thought the biggest disconnect that I had with Ron Rivera was everybody looked at him like, you're doing what at linebacker, and nothing was ever done with it, right? I mean, but this like now we're looking at a front office where we're savvy fans, but we're also not totally perfect. But at the same time, we can kind of navigate our way through what we think is important and what's not. And for 2 off seasons now, they've been kind of following that path. And edge seems to be the one position that they're not getting too excited about. So I wonder that kind of leads me to believe that they have a plan, right? Because they're not just gonna. It's not one of the. I don't think it's gonna be an Achilles heel at this point. I think they've got a pretty good idea about how they need to manage that defense.
And the other thing is, we struck gold last season in year 1, but they, in their mind, they're like, we're not going to fix we're not going to be the best roster at every position in 1 or 2 off seasons. It's a longer term plan than that. And the last thing you want to do is trade a bunch of assets. So, and then bring in hired guns just because you had a surprise year 1. I think that would be the wrong thing to do. Like, we've added talent, but we haven't done any. I don't think we've done anything crazy. I mean, some people feel like we gave up too much for Tunsil, but for God's sake, he's probably one of the top 3 tackles in the NFL.
Yeah.
I mean, if you're not going to give up the farm for someone like that, who are you going to? So,
right. And then on top of that, like, they had opportunities at edge in the first round. Mike Green was there, right? Didn't he tumble all the way into the second half of the second round when he ended up going to Baltimore? There, yeah. Mike Green was a guy that a lot of us, me personally, I didn't think he was going to make it out of the top 10. But then there's some character flaws or whatever. But they didn't even they passed on a guy like him twice. So they're not looking at edge like it's the biggest thing on the board, because now they've addressed a bookend tackle and a defensive back. So if Lattimore works out, great. If he doesn't, you've got Sanders still, Amos, and other guys, So I don't think that they're as worried about edge as the fans are. I think that they've done a lot to address the D-line. It's not the sexy, oh my gosh, look at this move. But if there's a front office that should get the benefit of the doubt, at least in the short term, to say, maybe they can take some things and get some stuff out of guys that other coaches haven't. I think that they've started to prove that. And they're not going to bring in guys that don't fit with this locker room. Exactly. Right? They're not going to bring in Mike Green, who's the best edge defender on the board, because he's an edge defender, even though he's a knucklehead or he's got personality issues or whatever. They're going to maintain the same mentality, and they're going to continue to build up. And I can't wait, man. I can't wait until we can actually see this kind of stuff on the field.
So, and I guess we're going to be on Hard Knocks during the regular season. Is that right?
Yes. The in-season Hard Knocks.
Yeah.
So,
but it's the whole division, so it's not.
I have never watched even once.
You will now.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, I will. I will. Nobody, as long as nobody's pinching Dan Quinn's tit, I'll be okay.
Deshaun Jackson. Never let that go.
I'm sorry to our female listeners, all 3 of you out there.
Deshaun, Jay Gruden, the purple nurple. Look.
Oh man.
Tony, that was the exact moment when I knew that we were doomed.
Yeah.
No, oh my gosh.
It wasn't. You mean it wasn't the rest of the problems. It was that one. That was the problem.
Yeah, that's what did it.
It wasn't with it. It wasn't the allegations that Jay Gruden was sleeping with one of our running backs' wife. It wasn't the.
You know what they say in the Marine Corps: good initiative, bad judgment. So,
Tony, have you watched Hard Knocks?
I've watched the off-season, like the training camp kind of Hard Knocks. I haven't watched the in-season one before. Look, I watched like the one. I also watched that other one that the Giants did, where everyone made fun of them because you got to see behind the curtain of how much of a
yeah, because Joe Shane was an idiot. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
so
His son was
most
smarter
of
than
them,
him.
I will say the vast majority of the Hard Knock seasons, it is very positive for the team.
Oh,
The team has
100%.
final say on all editing. They have total
Yeah.
control, so they can control what leaves the building. So they're not going to be. There was one with the Cowboys where like they showed Jerry Jones and they showed like behind him was their draft board or something stupid. You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah.
that's not going to happen. So I'm
Yeah.
sure Adam Peters and company are going to be very smart about it.
Oh,
But a lot of the time, actually, you watch it and you come away like they gain fans, not the other way around. It's not a distraction.
Mhm.
Usually, people enjoy it because you get to see the other side. Like, we're going to hear about Terry McLaurin's wedding, right? And we're going to hear about all the things that Cleveland Farrell does in the community, and then they're also going to be showing the relationship with the quarterbacks and all that kind of stuff, and Sam Hartman, and all the women are going to fall in love with Sam Hartman and his dreamy eyes and hair. So, like, I think it's going to be. I think it's actually. I'm excited. I've always wanted to be on Hard Knocks just because, as a fan, just take all of the coverage and all of the content and all of the behind it and just inject it into my veins. I love it. You know what I mean? But
yeah, I'm with you there. I'm excited.
And somebody brought up a good point. They said, somebody mentioned distraction. And they said, well, what about all of the Washington Commanders cameras that are recording everything and that they post on social media once a week with like the behind the scenes draft coverage and you know what I mean? So they're used to it. Like, I don't think it's not like it was 15 years ago when it was the Jets and nobody knew how to act. You know what I mean? Now they live in the camera.
Yeah, exactly. Nowadays, like every NFL team has a deep social media team that's making content every single day. Every team has their own shows that they put on their YouTube. So yeah, I agree. It's not a big deal anymore.
It just happened. The Redskins, the Commanders PR team won some kind of major NFL award as like one of the best, if not the best in the league. So
and they deserve it. Their content has been up compared to what we've seen in the past.
Yeah, it's kind of been a groan fest in previous years, like kind of a lot of cringy
stuff. Yeah, like really, you just put that out there like that.
Yeah.
So I when we started tonight, I was talking about how we kind of been on hiatus, haven't potted in a while. I think a lot of us have just kind of taken a little mental break from the football stuff after the draft. But how much attention have you guys paid to the OTAs? Like, what are you hearing as far as what's going on there and players that are standing out and that kind of thing?
I've been trying to keep as much as I can. Jayden looks like Jayden. I mean, everybody's excited about him. There hasn't been wow stuff out there. The Laramie Tunsil, Marshall, and Lattimore are not at camp, which is a little frustrating. Especially with Lattimore. Well, with both of them. Me personally, I'd like to see them there. I'd like to see, you want to be there, them working with their guys, but benefit of the doubt to most people. You have your off season.
We don't know why they're not there. There might be legit reasons.
And the voluntary portion that they're skipping too.
Right. And Terry McLaurin's not there. And a lot of people are speculating that has to do with the fact that they're in contract negotiations. And he did this the first time he got an extension. Huh?
Well, if I'm McLaurin and I don't have a contract extension and I'm set to make $15.5 million this season, and there are 8 other wide receivers in the NFL making twice that, I'm not saying he's angry or upset about it, but I think he did it the last time.
Yeah, the last time he got signed, he missed OTAs. So
I think it's more just a leverage thing, and this agent is probably telling him.
And his agent. Yeah.
Why take risks? When we're in a, we're negotiating or whatever. But the one that
I'm not worried about it.
Tunsil is the one that I wish was there the most. Lattimore, I think, is like, look, man, rest to get those hamstrings healed up, and, get as healthy as you possibly can be. But Tunsil's the one that I wish was there the most, for what it's worth.
I agree.
It'd be nice to have them there. I'm not freaking out about it, but
I'm not worried.
It'd be nice if they were all there, but I'm not worried about it in May, June. If grizzled vets aren't there, that's not a big deal. And
a couple other nuggets. Sorry, go ahead, Tony.
The only other bits and pieces thing I saw was Amos looked good. He had some. He looked.
Oh, he didn't just look good. He's been balling out. He had multiple. He had multiple interceptions, or at least he had one interception one day, and could have had another off of Jayden. I mean, he's been playing strong.
And they said he was matched up against Debo quite a bit and held his own.
Mm-hmm.
That's pretty impressive.
That's pretty good.
A couple nuggets that Dan Quinn confirmed that we will have joint practices with the Patriots and the Ravens leading up to those 2 preseason games, which will be cool. Nicki Jhabvala actually, and it's actually what kind of inspired me to have this conversation a little bit earlier. She had an article in the Washington Post about the bulked up defensive line, and I quote, "We got some big old boys." That's literally the name of her name of the article. So other than that,
so I heard again, I haven't been on Twitter every minute of every day, but I did hear that Mikey Sanristel has looked really good, and also Quan Martin, who I didn't realize this, but apparently he had some kind of procedures done on his shoulders, like early.
Yeah, apparently he played with injured both shoulders last year.
Yeah. So, but anyway, a lot of talk about that. He looks impressive.
Yep. Gallup was there, but he did not practice today. I'm literally just running through the Twitter feed because this is kind of what I was reading. Mm-hmm. A little nugget from Joe Witt. Somebody asked him about linebacker Kane Medrano, and asking if he was more of a linebacker or a safety, which he responded, is he Frankie Louvu or is he Jeremy Chin? And it kind of left it up to people to determine that. You know what I mean? What do you see out there? Like I said earlier, Connerly was working at right tackle.
I heard Brandon Coleman got snaps at left guard. That they did some series where he was at left guard.
Yeah, that makes sense.
I'm fine with it because if that means if he can push Allegretti, right, and he can fill in at right guard until Cosme comes back, and then he's pushing Allegretti, and then you get 8 years younger, right?
Yeah.
It
improves the line overall. Yeah, you get your best 5 out there, and then you have decent backups.
Yeah, it'll be interesting when we get to the actual mandatory mini camps to see what happens with McLaurin, Lattimore, and Tunsil, and what happens after that. Joe Witt Jr. quoted, to your point on Quan Martin, Joe Witt Jr. said this kid has the potential to be one of the better safeties in the league. He was also speaking highly of Jeremy Reeves, which, I mean, that guy's just a guy you can never get mad at. You know what I mean? Like, he's just a guy. He's Lorenzo Alexander, right? Like, I think they're both cut from the same cloth.
So if anyone from the Commanders organization checks his pod out, because I'm sure that has happened at least once.
Yeah.
But if they are, I want to make a request, because we're getting ready to go into minicamp, and then we'll be at training camp before much longer. I want a tour of the new facilities, because I keep hearing about all the improvements they've done, like in the gym, in the weight room, in the locker room. I want to see it. I want literally like a guided tour on social media to see exactly what changes they've made. I think that would be really cool.
Absolutely. Yeah, just to see the jump from the grades that we had from 2023 to 2025. You know what I mean? And apparently, from what I understand, there's construction going on at the park now. At the practice facility, like literally now, they're doing construction out there. So I 100% would love to see that. And it makes you wonder, now that the RFK site is essentially pretty much the final decision has been made. What does that mean for Ashburn? Do they stay? Because you're not going to put your practice facility downtown. You can't afford to. There's not enough room.
Yeah, I don't know.
I bet they'll still stay in Ashburn.
So
TBD.
Yeah.
TBD. That's right. All right, boys. Well, that was kind of a quick roundup. We'll probably get back into doing these about once a week now that we're going to be ramping back up into the mini camps and believe it or not, we're only 2 months away from camp, like real camp, right? Like we're less than 2 months away from real camp breaking. So we're hurtling quickly into real football. It's crazy as that sounds. It's getting earlier and earlier, and then so I'm interested. I love it. I'm excited. I think that our team is better than it was last year, and I'm here for it, man. I can't wait. I think it's going to be a blast.
Yeah, it's exciting.
Yeah, definitely excited.
So if you've made it this far, cheers from everybody over here at the Blind Pig. As you know, like we've said before, you can find us on all major audio platforms. That's Apple Podcasts, Spotify, all of them. Catch us on all major social media platforms. That's Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, X, Blue Sky, QRS, whatever the hell it's called this week.
Home
and of course,
at
the true mothership, the originator, the beginning of it all, bgobsession.com. So, as always, gentlemen, I will say thank you very much, and that'll do, pigs. That'll do.